Welcome back, everybody, to the Daily Financial News Roundup. We've got a pretty packed show today. Everything from business intelligence to electric vehicles to the cannabis industry. Let's just jump right in.
Sounds good.
So first up, the business intelligence market is booming.
It is.
It's projected to hit $116.25 billion by 2033,
Wow.
up from $30.1 billion in 2024.
Yeah, that's a huge leap. What's really driving this is the shift towards data-driven decision-making.
Right.
Companies are realizing that they need to really extract insights from all this data they have just to stay competitive, right? AI and machine learning are also completely revolutionizing data analysis, offering predictive insights and real-time processing.
Yeah, it's not just about collecting the data anymore. It's about actually using it effectively.
Right.
North America is kind of leading this trend, but it's definitely a global phenomenon.
Absolutely. Now, switching gears a little bit to the semiconductor industry. Wolfspeed, you know them. They're known for their silicon carbide technology. They're facing a class action lawsuit from investors, and they're alleging that the company misled them about their Mohawk Valley facility's production capabilities and profitability. The deadline to join the lawsuit is January 17th, so any Wolfspeed investors listening should definitely look into this.
That's a really tight deadline. Speaking of deadlines, Encore Capital Group, the specialty finance company.
Right.
They will be announcing their fourth quarter 2024 financial results on February 26th.
Okay.
They are also going to be hosting a conference call that day with the CEO and CFO.
Good.
Yeah,
this is a really good opportunity for investors to hear directly from the leadership about their performance and what they see for the future. I think this could be really insightful given, the current economic climate.
Absolutely. Now, let's shift gears over to electric vehicles. Rivian just secured a massive $6.6 billion loan from the U.S. Department of Energy for their new Georgia plant.
Yeah, this loan is a huge deal. It signals, the government's strong commitment to electric vehicle manufacturing, and it's going to help Rivian significantly ramp up production of their electric trucks and SUVs. I think this could be a real game changer for them.
Yeah, for sure. It's a major investment in clean energy, and some analysts are already raising their price targets on Rivian's stock. It seems like this move has really energized investors.
It has. Now, on a completely different note, imagine investing $1,000 in a stock 20 years ago and just forgetting about it.
Wow.
That's what some early investors in CoStar Group did.
Now,
And they are reaping the rewards today.
their investment would be worth over $16,800 now.
Right.
That's an average annual return of 15.22%, significantly outpacing the overall market.
Yeah, it's a great example of how long-term investing in a solid company can pay off, particularly if that company is riding a major wave, like the digital transformation of commercial real estate, which CoStar Group has been doing.
Definitely a case for thinking long-term when it comes to investments. Now, in the clean energy sector, Plug Power, a player in the green hydrogen space, just got a $1.66 billion loan guarantee
Wow.
from the U.S. Department of Energy.
This is significant. This is a significant boost for the hydrogen economy. These funds are going to help Plug Power build 6 new projects across the U.S., expanding their capacity to produce and distribute zero and low-carbon hydrogen. It's a clear sign that the government is serious about supporting the clean energy transition.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about environmental benefits. This will also create jobs and bolster energy security.
Exactly. Now, for a story about the growing importance of satellite technology, Ursa Space Systems just won a $200 million government contract.
Wow, this contract from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency will give Ursa access to a wealth of commercial geospatial intelligence.
Right.
Their expertise in data analytics will help provide valuable insights to the national security community.
This highlights the increasing reliance on space-based intelligence for a variety of applications, from national security to disaster response to environmental monitoring.
Speaking of returns, Carriage Services, a provider of funeral and cemetery services,
Interesting.
announced a quarterly dividend of 11.25 cents per share.
This dividend will be payable on March 3rd to shareholders of record as of February 3rd. It's a steady return for Carriage Services investors.
Now, for some news that might surprise you, Apple is actually facing difficulties in China. iPhone sales declined sharply in 2024,
Interesting.
and the company lost its top spot in the Chinese smartphone market,
Wow.
falling behind domestic brands like Vivo and Huawei.
That's right. A number of factors contributed to this shift, including The resurgence of Huawei with their locally made chips, the growing popularity of foldable phones, which Apple hasn't really embraced yet, and the perception that Apple is kind of lagging behind in AI integration. This is definitely a challenge for Apple.
It'll be interesting to see how they respond.
Oh.
Now let's move on to a biotech company that's been quietly generating impressive returns, Viking Therapeutics.
An investment of $1,000 in VKTX stock 5 years ago would be worth over $4,592 today.
Wow.
That's an average annual return of 35.65%, significantly outperforming the market.
It's quite a run. On the flip side, Bioage Labs, another biopharmaceutical company, is facing a class action lawsuit. Investors allege that the company misled them about the results of its STRIDES Phase 2 clinical trial.
The deadline to join this lawsuit is March 10th. This highlights the importance of due diligence and carefully evaluating the risks associated with any investment, especially in the biotech sector, where things can change very quickly.
Absolutely. Transparency and accurate reporting are crucial for maintaining investor trust. And speaking of shakeups, the cannabis industry is seeing a major one with the merger of two major advocacy groups. That's right. The National Cannabis Roundtable, NCR, and U.S. Cannabis Council, USCC, are merging into a single, powerful force called the U.S. Cannabis Roundtable.
Wow. This comes at a time when the industry is experiencing renewed momentum thanks to former President Trump's unexpected endorsement of cannabis reform during his 2024 campaign.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's wild.
This has injected new energy into the push for federal legalization. The newly formed U.S. Cannabis Roundtable will be advocating for key changes like rescheduling cannabis to Schedule III, passing states' rights legislation, and enacting cannabis banking reform.
Rescheduling cannabis to Schedule III would mean acknowledging it has medical benefits and lowering the legal penalties associated with it. It's a big step towards federal legalization.
Right.
And cannabis banking reform would make it easier for businesses in this industry to access financial services, which are currently very limited. This merger could be a turning point for the cannabis industry, especially with a unified voice pushing for these changes.
Yeah, it could be.
Certainly a development to watch. Now, on to our final story for this segment. IT services company Unisys Corporation is facing legal action from investors who claim to have suffered losses.
The details of the lawsuit are limited right now. However, it serves as a reminder of the importance of doing your research and understanding the risks involved before investing in any company.
That's a great point to end on. Always do your due diligence and invest wisely. We'll be back after a short break to dive deeper into some of these stories. Welcome back. Let's kind of dive a little deeper into some of the stories we just talked about. We talked about the booming business intelligence market, but what are some of the specific ways that companies are using BI to gain an edge?
Well, companies are using BI to personalize customer experiences, optimize pricing strategies, manage their supply chains more efficiently, and even identify and mitigate risks.
Oh, wow.
For example, a retailer might use BI to analyze customer purchase data to recommend products or create, targeted promotions.
Okay.
In finance, BI can help detect fraudulent transactions and manage investment portfolios.
It's amazing how BI is touching so many different aspects of business.
Yeah, it is.
Earlier, we mentioned Wolfspeed facing that class action lawsuit. What are the potential implications for the company if they lose this case?
Well, if Wolfspeed loses, they could face significant financial penalties and damage to their reputation.
Right.
The outcome could also impact investor confidence and potentially affecting their stock price. This case really underscores the importance of transparency and accurate reporting for companies, especially in a sector as complex as semiconductors.
For sure. Now let's talk more about that $6.6 billion loan Rivian received. This is a massive loan, even for a company like Rivian. What are the terms and what kind of impact will this have on their financials?
So the loan is from the Department of Energy's Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Loan Program. It's designed to support the development and production of fuel-efficient vehicles.
Okay.
The terms are favorable, with a low interest rate and a long repayment period. This loan will allow Rivian to significantly expand their operations and invest in R&D without adding a lot of debt burden.
Gotcha.
It's a major boost for their long-term growth prospects.
That makes sense. It seems like the government is strategically investing in companies that align with their clean energy goals. We also talked about CoStar Group and their incredible performance over the past 20 years. What were some of the key factors that contributed to their success?
Well, CoStar Group's success can be attributed to their early adoption of technology, strategic acquisitions, and a focus on providing high-quality data and analytics to the commercial real estate industry.
Right.
They essentially created a digital ecosystem that connects all the players in the market, from brokers to investors to lenders.
Hmm.
This first mover advantage allowed them to build a dominant position in the market, which they've been able to maintain and grow.
It's a reminder that innovation and adaptability are crucial for long-term success. Earlier, we discussed Plug Power's loan guarantee for their green hydrogen projects. What exactly is green hydrogen, and why is it considered such a promising clean energy source?
Okay, so green hydrogen is hydrogen produced using renewable energy sources like solar or wind power to split water molecules. This process results in zero greenhouse gas emissions, making it a truly clean energy source. It's also versatile. You can use it for electricity generation, transportation, and even industrial processes that currently rely on fossil fuels.
So it's not just about replacing gasoline in cars. It
Well,
has much broader applications.
right.
It sounds like green hydrogen could be a key piece of the clean energy puzzle. And we can't forget about Ursa Space Systems and their impressive government contract.
Yeah.
What are some of the potential applications for the data they'll be gathering and analyzing?
So, Ursa Space Systems will be providing intelligence on a wide range of areas. This includes monitoring global infrastructure, tracking shipping routes, assessing natural disaster damage, and even analyzing agricultural trends. Their data will help government agencies make more informed decisions about everything from national security to humanitarian aid.
It's fascinating how satellite data can be used in so many ways. We mentioned that Apple is struggling in China. What are some specific steps they could take to regain their footing in this crucial market?
Well, Apple needs to adapt to the changing tastes of Chinese consumers.
Right.
They could consider incorporating features that are popular in China, such as foldable screens, advanced camera technology, and a deeper integration of AI. They could also partner with local companies to develop features specifically for the Chinese market, and they need to do a better job of showcasing the value proposition of their products compared to their Chinese competitors.
It's going to be interesting to see how Apple responds to this challenge.
Correct.
Now, shifting gears to the biotech sector, Viking Therapeutics has seen remarkable growth. What's behind their success story?
So, Viking Therapeutics is focused on developing therapies for metabolic and endocrine disorders, a market with huge potential. They've had very promising results in their clinical trials for a non-alcoholic steatohepatitis NASH drug. NASH is a growing problem with no approved therapies. So, a successful drug in this space could be a blockbuster. Investors are excited about the potential of Viking Therapeutics to become a major player in this market.
It sounds like they are a company to keep an eye on. Now, Bioage Labs is in a very different situation, facing a lawsuit alleging they misled investors. What are some of the potential consequences for Bioage, and what lessons can other biotech companies learn from this? It sounds like they are a company to keep an eye on. Now, Bioage Labs is in a very different situation, facing a lawsuit alleging they misled investors. What are some of the potential consequences for Bioage, and what lessons can other biotech companies learn from this?
Well, the consequences for Bioage could be severe. They could face significant financial penalties, damage to their reputation, and difficulty attracting future investments.
Right.
This case highlights the importance of transparency and rigorous scientific standards for biotech companies. Investors need to be able to trust the data companies are presenting, especially when dealing with potentially life-saving therapies.
It's a good reminder for investors to do their due diligence and not just jump on the hype train. Now, let's circle back to the cannabis industry. We talked about the merger of those advocacy groups. What are some of the biggest challenges facing the industry, even with this newfound momentum?
Even with the merger and increased support for legalization, the cannabis industry still faces some significant hurdles. Federal prohibition remains a major obstacle, creating legal and financial complexities for businesses operating in states where it's legal. There's also the issue of social equity, ensuring that communities that were disproportionately harmed by the war on drugs have a fair chance to participate in the legal market. And then there are the ongoing challenges of establishing consistent regulations, addressing public health concerns, and combating the black market.
It seems like there's still a long road ahead for the cannabis industry. We also touched on Unisys Corporation facing that lawsuit from investors. What advice would you give to investors who might be concerned about companies they're invested in?
Well, it's important to stay informed about the companies you're invested in. Pay attention to their financial performance, read their earnings reports, and stay updated on any news or developments that could affect their business. And don't hesitate to reach out to the company directly with any questions or concerns. Remember, as an investor, you have the right to be informed.
That's excellent advice. Well, that wraps up our look at today's top financial news. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we sign off?
The financial world is constantly changing. Staying informed, doing your research, and seeking expert advice when needed are crucial steps in navigating these complex waters and making smart decisions.
I completely agree. Thanks for joining us for today's Financial News Roundup. We'll be back tomorrow with more in-depth analysis of the biggest stories impacting your money. Until then, stay informed and stay ahead of the curve.